It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time, Monday, again. And like I was just telling Jim there in Casper, and it felt like it was Friday, like 2 hours ago.
Today's show is sponsored by the Ugly Pants Store. Each pair makes you want to sit in wet paint.
The Democrat convention kicks off this week. Hang on, here we go.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
All right, so Democrat convention kicks off here in Wyoming on Tuesday. It's our primary. So if you haven't voted yet, you got till Tuesday to do it. I did early. You can early as well, and then you got Tuesday. On the national level, of course, this all happens in Chicago, and news outlets have been beating on that old drum. What was it, back in the 60s when the Democrat convention, there was all sorts of riots going on, and it was mostly other Democrats against Democrats during that, and the whole convention was a huge shambles. We'll see this time, because besides the Palestinians, there's going to be other protesters out there, and we'll see how bad it gets. Not clear. I always like to say I don't know what's going to happen until after it happens. Then I'll tell you what's going to happen. So I'll wait to see. But I do know the protesters are gearing up. Now, as far as who's going to be on, this I thought was interesting because with most of the Democrat convention, I thought, they got to have their various speakers, important people. Then I realized they have a list that the Democrats see as celebrities. So first off, Biden, who has been about the most corrupt politician and dishonest politician in the history of not just the United States Senate, but vice presidents and president. This man should have been run out of office and jailed a long time ago. But Democrats refuse to look at all of that, his history of lies and corruption, and they see him as a hero. From their point of view, you conservatives will laugh at this, but that's the point of me telling you. From the Democrat point of view, they think that Biden saved American democracy by beating Donald Trump. Yeah, that's how they see it. And by dropping out of the race, this is the spin that they're putting on us. He dropped out of the race to save democracy again from Donald Trump. That's how they're going to sell this, and they're already trying to. So Biden is the first one to speak tonight. We'll see how he does. Now, again, they get him jacked up on Red Bull and whatever they do to him, and he gets out there and speaks for a while. I don't know how long he's going to last, and then he'll go ahead and saunter off stage. And this goes back to, yes, not only did the Biden administration lie about his condition for a very long time, but so did the media. And it was when he debated Trump on live television, you can't edit live. Not like that. And so everybody around the country was able to see what he's really like when he's unedited. So we'll see how he does tonight. Now, some other speakers is who the Democrats see as celebrities. So, and it's not like the Republicans didn't bring out their celebrities too, but okay. So some of the celebrities that they're going to have out there for celebrities from a Democrat point of view are going to be the Clintons will speak, Barack Obama will speak, Michelle Obama will speak. So I think that fills up. Each night they have to have their headliner, and they're going to bring somebody out which really gets the base all excited and going. And they hope to bring in the rest of the American people. Now, the problem that I see for the Republicans is making sure that they don't get into the whole name-calling thing, which is something that I do often worry that Trump does. Don't get into the name-calling thing. Stick to the substance of this. Like, for example, and I think Trump can really do something in the debate that he'll have against Harris. When she talks about price controls, as you know, price controls have never worked. In the history of the world, not just the United States, the United States have tried price controls before on things. It doesn't work. It's a disaster. And when it's been tried in other countries, it's also been a disaster. And so when Harris talks about price controls to fix what's going on at the grocery store and everywhere else, to fix inflation, well, she's finally admitting there's been inflation. And when she talks about price controls for all of these things, she's talking about a policy that has failed everywhere it's ever been tried throughout human history. Those are things you can get her on. Yes, you can get her on the border. And I know the media continues to lie that, well, Biden didn't appoint her border czar. Yes, he did, and we have the audio and video to go with it. While he didn't use the word czar, he put her in charge of the border. Oh, I got something, by the way. I got something on that. A little bit later on, this probably in the next segment here. AP News, which of course can't be trusted for a lot of reasons. AP News not only constantly lies and are very leftist, but also they just get a lot of facts wrong. They tried to defend Harris on the border, and they come up with a tale that you're not going to believe to try to defend, oh, she's been on this the whole time. Well, you're not going to believe what their excuse is. But even then, we can always just say, but that didn't work. If that's true, which it's not, it didn't work. We'll get into that. So there's a lot of things to go after her on. So, yeah, this week, the media will be all over the Democrat convention, and it's going to be a love fest with the media and the Democrats. We'll see what happens with the protest out front as to how bad that looks. And yes, the Democrats are going to try to bring out people that they think are their Democrat headliners, celebrities that they hope will bring in. I think what really does it is, for you Trump supporters, if Trump is the adult in the room, and he can definitely be the intelligent person in the room during the debate between Trump and Harris, then he can sew this up. But we'll see what happens. As I've always said, don't ever believe the polls. I don't care what the polls say. If the polls are telling you something you like or telling you something you don't like, don't believe the polls. And even though the clock is ticking and we're getting closer to actual election day, there's still enough time for all sorts of weird things to happen. And nobody knows what's actually... I hear people make predictions all the time. Don't buy any prediction, even the ones in your own head. This planet is just too strange to know what's actually going on. Yeah, Jay and Casper. Joe Biden, quitter, hero. And there's a whole bunch of eye rolling going on.
You know how people are using pronouns these days, like she, him, her, them, theirs? I want you to start using adjectives when you address me, like spectacular, outstanding, phenomenal, audacious.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Wyoming, it is a Monday. So I was talking about the Democrat convention, which starts this week, starts Monday today, and they're going to bring out the list of celebrities as the Democrats see them. Biden first, and then, of course, at some point, Slick Willie, will come out and speak. And I don't know if it's going to be both Bill and Hillary or just Bill, but probably both. And then at some point they have to bring out Obama, and then Michelle Obama will speak too. So, okay, they'll see what they can do with the convention. Although I don't expect a whole lot of substance, because so far, when I hear Harris on the road talking to the audience and her VP pick, Waltz, they don't have any substance in what they're talking about. It's a lot like when Obama ran for office, it was hope and change and moving forward, which doesn't mean anything. Hope for what? Change to what? Moving forward to where? And oftentimes campaigns are run that way. Let's make it just as vague as possible. What exactly do you mean by that? And that's the same thing when Harris, we've been asking Harris for quite a while, the country, I mean, what exactly are your policies here? Because if you go to her website, there's still no policies. None. What exactly do you want to do? Finally, she came out with price controls. Well, that's a horrible idea. And even liberal economists know that's a horrible idea. But all right. She has tossed out a recent word salad once again. And I'm not going to play the entire thing because it'll give you a headache. Just a little bit of it, okay? Just a snippet. Don't go anywhere. Hang on. This is worth it.
And that's what our election is about. Our election is about understanding the importance of this beautiful country of ours in terms of what we stand for around the globe as a democracy. As a democracy, we know there's a duality to the nature of democracy. On the one hand, incredible strength when it is intact. What it does for its people to protect and defend their rights.
Okay, and she just goes on like this. Now, if you're wondering, where is she going with this? I tried listening to the entire thing. I really did. The answer really is when you get to the end of it. She didn't go anywhere with that. She just rambled on. She didn't go anywhere with that. And that's part of what I expect to hear at the Democrat convention. But we'll see. Like I said, I think Trump really has the best opportunity to beat her when he finally gets into a debate. Because when he stood up against Biden, and obviously Biden had no cognitive ability to be in the room at the time, and then he's going to debate Harris, and all Trump, I would say to him, don't name call her, just stick to economic, political, and so on, facts. And it'd be the adult in the room, which she can't be. And there you go. You've won the whole debate. We'll see what happens. Now, I'd mentioned AP News. I have not trusted AP News for a very long time. Factually, they get just a lot wrong. But also, they're very leftist biased. So now, when it comes to the border, the Democrats are trying to gaslight the American people. She was never appointed czar. Yes, she was. Now, Biden never used the word czar, but yes, he essentially put her in charge of the border. And he said so. And we have the video on that. So, with that, and also the news media went crazy by calling her the czar. And I might grab that and play it back at some point again, where every news outlet out there was calling her the border czar until they were told to stop, and then they stopped. Here's AP News. Their latest fantasy that they're trying to sell you. AP writes, in grappling with migration, they mean illegal immigration, Harris proceeded cautiously. She focused her time and prestige, she has prestige, on boosting they're trying to convince you she has prestige, on boosting private investment in El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, the so-called Northern Triangle. Her goal was to create jobs to bolster economies and dissuade migrants, illegal immigrants, from making the perilous journey to the United States. In other words, make it better in their country so they would never dream of leaving and coming here, right? It reads, it was a decidedly long-term and limited approach to the humanitarian crisis, and it has allowed Republicans to tie her to the border fight over the border. While migration, illegal immigration, for the Northern Triangle ebbed, which it didn't, it surged from other nations, sparking an emergency at the U.S.-Mexican border, one that Republicans have aggressively sought to exploit at Harris's expense. That's what AP News has written. Now, what they claim she was doing in other countries, she never did, so there's that problem. First off, that's first off. And the second off, it never worked anyway because the influx of people over the border kept increasing. It did die down for a while, but then it picked back up again. It had nothing to do with Harris or Biden in trying to fix that problem because they never tried to fix the problem. And the answer would have been, no matter where they're trying to come from, seal the border. Doesn't matter where they're coming from, seal the border. And let them know you can't just come walking into America like that We have procedures for this for a reason. And what many Democrats try to lay on Republicans is, well, you Republicans you're just racist because you don't want people from other countries. That's not it at all. I love immigration. I suppose you do too. But it's got to be done through a certain process that every country has for very good reasons. And it's disastrous when you just let anybody just walk across your border and into your country because you don't know what you're getting. Criminals, diseases, people who want to take advantage of the system is another example of that. You know the whole drill. All right, coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, we're going to roll into news time. After news, update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. I do have an extended weather forecast from Don Day coming up at 6:45, which talks about nothing massive, but a bit of a cool down one after the next that keeps temperatures a bit on the mild side and not feeling so summer-like for the next maybe 10 days or more or so. He'll tell you about that. Upcoming on Wake Up Wyoming.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:36 the time, Wake Up Wyoming, Monday morning. So I've never seen gaslighting to this extent. Like you, if you paid attention to politics, you've seen groups try to gaslight you over the years. This is the worst I've ever seen. Now, there's been some pretty bad stuff during the end of the Obama administration. Well, even when, let me back up, correcting myself. When Obama was running for president, oh dear God, they built the cult of Obama and they gaslighted people about him. When he was done as president, there was, I think it was CNN, but anyway, there was a roundtable discussion of a bunch of talking heads on one of the networks, and they're all nodding in agreement. Wow. 8 years of a scandal-free administration. That's amazing. When it was one of the most scandal-ridden administrations in the history of presidential administrations. Okay, so Vice President Harris. So Biden told the nation he was putting her in charge of the border. She will go down there and fix it. Now, I don't recall him using the term czar, but that's essentially what he's doing, making a border czar. All right. So since that didn't work out, now she's the presidential candidate. The news media is trying to backtrack. Well, that was fact-checked, and he never called her that. Really? Let's listen to what the news media had to say after she was appointed border czar.
Quote-unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
So what we have there is a whole montage of the same news media, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, as they called her the border czar, and then afterwards came back and said, but she was never appointed the border czar. Then why did just a few years ago those same anchors and reporters refer to her as the border czar. So at some point from somewhere they got marching orders, stop calling her, deny, say it was fact-checked that she never was appointed border czar. You heard several cuts in here, to pick one network, from CNN, going back and forth between calling her border czar and then a couple of years later saying, but she was never appointed border czar. Well, which is it, guys? Which is it? All right. This is the most gaslighting I have ever seen during a presidential election. And in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of gaslighting. I'm sure you have too. I've never seen it to this extent before. So I expect during the Democrat convention there to be a hell of a lot more of it. Now, again, I don't believe that anything is going to happen until after it happens. So I don't know what this convention is going to be like, and nobody does. There's all sorts of political pundits out there who are paid to give you an idea of what's going to happen during the convention. But this is no different for you sports fans. Let's say the football fans out there. You know, they always have the pregame show. And there's all of these so-called experts who get out there ahead of the game to tell you what they have to do, this team or that team has to do in order to win, and then all these predictions about what's going to happen. Then if you actually watch the game, none of what they said comes true, or very little of it. And that's exactly what's happening now, which is why I would say from this point on, I think, if I can give you a little advice, I think the best way to proceed is turn off the networks and don't listen to any of the pundits. Don't bother. Not worth your time. All right. And same thing when it comes to talk radio. They're going to be all over this. Most of what they're saying is nonsense. All right. If you want to tune in, if you can stomach it, if you're a Republican, go ahead, tune in and listen to exactly what the Democrats are saying. You know enough to make your own judgments on this. So go ahead and listen to what they're actually saying at the Democrat convention and use your own judgments on this. All right. Because most of what you're going to hear, I think, and this is the only analysis I'll give, unless something really big and fun happens, which it might, is you're going to hear a whole lot of gaslighting between now and the end of the convention, and very little factually, not just from the Democrats, but from the news media. And we all know this from experience. All right, extended forecast from Don Day, Wake Up.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to David Settle, who's still sitting in for Frank Gambino. The guy's on vacation. So, David, in Yellowstone National Park, on the western side of Wyoming, they're always trying to come up with new ways to tell boneheaded tourists to not take selfies with the animals, right?
Yeah, that's usual.
Here's the latest. I don't think this is going to work. It's it's an app, which they're asking people to download, called Selfie Control. So let's say someone sees a bison and they want to take a selfie with it. So they call up their Instagram, and the app will superimpose a little red bison over the bison that's on their camera. And it'll say if bison is larger than this icon, the little red one, if the real one is bigger than the little red one, you are too close.
Okay.
It also gives out little pieces of advice on this. Grizzlies can run 35 miles an hour, humans 8. And what I think they should put under that is fat humans can only run 2 miles an hour. Yeah. But this is supposed to be something that, and I have a story on this on the Wake Up Wyoming website if you want to go ahead and take a look at what this app looks like. This is where they're supposed to go ahead and download this app and actually use it before they approach wildlife to get a selfie with it to understand how far away they're supposed to be. I don't think anyone's going to use it.
No. People just don't pay attention anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of signs about don't approach wildlife, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I did have, as I wrote the story, I found one video of a montage of people getting too close to animals. One I really enjoyed. There's a moose. And there's a couple of guys that they look kind of drunk. It's at night, and they're getting really close to it. And somebody's yelling at them from a distance. That's a wild animal. Stay away. And they start having fun, like, oh, yeah, watch me get really close. And one of the guys gets real close and slaps the moose on the hindquarters.
Oh, no.
That did not end well.
Oh.
As you can imagine, for the two of those guys, which I hope then they learn their lesson when somebody's screaming at you, stay away, that is a wild animal. I think what you do is, well, what you don't do is slap it on the butt. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, I would not do that to a moose. All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Let's talk a little bit of sports right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Wyoming Cowboy football team is getting closer and closer to the start of the 2024 season. They will actually get into game week preparation later this week, and Coach Jay Savelle will explain that. The Cowboys, of course, open their 2024 season on Saturday, August 31st. It's an 8:30 p.m. kickoff as Wyoming plays at Arizona State against the Sun Devils. For the Wyoming Cowboys, head coach Jay Savelle was asked about when they get into preparation for the Sun Devils, and he says, really, we'll start that coming up on Wednesday.
We'll meet with players on Arizona State. We don't practice next Wednesday. Then we'll go Thursday, Friday, Saturday on Arizona State, take Sunday off, and then we start into the following week like a game week. So we're treating it like we would off of a bye week. I think, the thing that you talk to a lot of coaches about and that you got to be careful of, number one, you don't want to under-prepare for a first game, but by the same token, you don't want it to be 3 weeks of work for a first game, because then you have a lot of things that are going to be foundational to what you have to do all season and not just particularly for one opponent.
And so the Cowboys continue. They're back at practice today after an off day on Sunday. And again, they'll go Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it's game week next week for Wyoming Cowboy football. If you want more on the Pokes and what's going on in fall camp, 7220sports.com and the 7220sports.com app. At the high school level, high school tennis began over the weekend. Casper was the host to a little round-robin jamboree. They played some pro sets. Nothing official in terms of event results, but Kelly Walsh and Natrona County will be here in Laramie for dual competition today. Natrona also has a duel at Rollins before they come to Laramie. In high school golf at the Green River Invitational, Riker Lind of Evanston and Taslin Wagner of Kimmer were the medalists on Friday at the Green River Full Golf Invite. Chinese Daniel Meyer finished in second place with Nash Coleman in fourth, and the Chinese boys captured the team title. Carson Moniz of Laramie finished in sixth place. On the girls' side, the top finisher in the area, Jamie Palmer of Cheyenne East, ended up in eighth place. The Evanston girls ended up winning that team title with Cheyenne Central in fourth. Laramie boys finished third behind East and Evanston. You can check out all the prep results from the weekend at wildpreps.com and on the Wild Preps app. On the regional scene, the Denver Broncos won their second preseason game, blowing out the Green Bay Packers down in Denver last night, 27-2. The only points they gave up, a late third quarter safety. Bo Nix looked fantastic as the starting quarterback, led them on 2 scoring drives, went 8 for 9 passing for 80 yards with 1 touchdown. His passer rating was 140.7. And now there are a lot of people calling for Bo Nix to be the starter from day one when the Broncos open their season on September 8th at the Seattle Seahawks. And the Rockies actually won 2 of 3 against a team fighting for the playoffs, the San Diego Padres in Denver over the weekend. Rockies won 7-3 on Friday, lost 8-3 Saturday, but they won yesterday 3-2. They're 46-79. Rockies are off today before they head to the East Coast for a road trip starting in Washington, D.C. against the Nationals on Tuesday. That's your sports this hour.
Well, don't worry. They won't let you down. They're going to completely screw this up.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right. I just making sure we're on track here. I don't want anyone to be disappointed.
Oh, no.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. Tuesday, Wyoming primary voting time. We do have a couple of candidates coming in on today's program to talk about their campaign, some local people, and I did let local candidates from all areas, it didn't have to be from any particular market, anywhere in Wyoming call in, and several did. Just remember that's coming up on Tuesday. Real quick, just one more thing on the Chicago gathering of Democrats. What do you call it? A gaggle of Democrats? Anyway, they're having their convention. Chicago businesses are preparing for mass gatherings of Democrats by boarding up windows on their stores. Yeah, they think it's going to be that bad. The protesters are already there.
Today's show is sponsored by The Ugly Pants Store. Each pair makes you want to sit in wet paint.
Let's get back to some Wyoming politics here since we're getting so close to our primary day. Just to be very clear about, for those who are Trump supporters, who he endorsed in Wyoming, Trump doubled down on his endorsement of our current three that are in Washington, D.C. So Barrasso, and Lummis, and Harriet Hageman. Trump had endorsed all three of those before. Now, I did have in here earlier in the week, last week, running against Senator Barrasso, we had a candidate who was saying, well, he wasn't quite sure if that's exactly who Trump was endorsing. And the answer is, yeah, Trump did endorse Barrasso, for those who care about that. For me, I don't care if I like a candidate or not. I never really pay attention to who somebody is endorsing. I just make up my own mind on that. But anyway, for those who were curious about that, that's where the endorsements lie at this point. Now, we do have, and I did put it up again, it's a partial voter's guide for those people who are waiting to vote tomorrow, if you're not going to do it early and do it today. I always do it early because I like avoiding the lines. So I go ahead and I vote early, just to avoid the lines. And City Hall's right up the road from me, so I can just walk up there. Literally, I walked in, voted, walked back, done. It was just that easy. But for those people who like to wait to Tuesday to do that, there is a voter's guide. It's on the Wake Up Wyoming site. I did put that up there several times so far this year, but it's up again the day before, as to where to look for. If you're not sure of all the candidates, where to look for them. And you can just go in and ask for a sample ballot. Now, I also go back to, this is one particular time I really am confused as to why. I think I have a reason. But there's mostly Republicans running everywhere, and the primary is going to settle almost everything. That's not to say there's no Democrats running. There are some. But have you heard from them? Usually, even on this program, Democrats will call in to get on the air, and I'll be fair. I'll be fair to them. I'll treat them like any other candidate. I'll let them talk. But this time, nobody. And this is a pretty important election year, but they're not even really trying. In many districts around Wyoming, no matter what the race is, it's mostly Republicans running, which means pretty much, not everything, but pretty much everything is settled during the primary this year. Now, don't forget, there's also a couple of other political parties in the state of Wyoming. We still have the Libertarian Party, which I have not heard from. If there's any Libertarians out there running, I haven't heard from you. Constitution Party, where are you guys? Do you have anybody running? I haven't heard of anybody. They're probably out there, but I haven't heard of them. They haven't been busy. This goes back to the whole crossover voting thing. The argument has been made, and I remembered at one point the Casper Star-Tribune editorial staff a few years back tried making the argument, crossover voting is perfectly good when you consider it's fine when most of our races in Wyoming are decided by the primary ballot, not by the general election ballot. And I completely disagree with them. They're absolutely wrong about that. I've said this before. Folks, it is not the Republicans' fault if the other parties in Wyoming failed to show up. This is the time, Tuesday is the day, where each political party in Wyoming, and again, there's more than two, each political party chooses who they're going to run for the general election. So if you're in some district and the Democrats and the Libertarians and the Constitution Party fail to show up, that's not the Republicans' fault, which is why the state of Wyoming has enacted a law that's supposed to prevent crossover voting. And we'll see if that works, but that's what's supposed. It's supposed to prevent crossover voting by, in other words, whatever party you're with right now, you You can't go ahead and flip-flop back and forth now. It's a little too late for that. Kerry is in Colorado. He wants to change the subject to illegal immigration. Morning, Kerry.
Yeah, hey, I've got a question, Glenn. Okay, you know what? Us Republicans, we're finally pulling off the boxing gloves, and when you're going to punch us in the stomach and the face, we just sit there and, just grin and bear it. But now, the past couple of years, we've actually been pulling those boxing gloves off and just sucker punching them back,
Right. Yeah.
So what can we do? Are there laws that are in place right now throughout the United States? If there is an illegal immigrant that is caught trying to vote, what's the ramifications of jail, of going to jail, imprisonment, fines, etc.?
If you caught something like that, you should be able to handle it right there, assuming that you found it was happening while you're at the ballots on, since you're in Colorado. While you're voting in Colorado, you see it happening. There's supposed to be people monitoring right then and there, and you should be able to call it out right then and there. And if you're right about that, then it'll be dealt with. Now, how they deal with it in Colorado, I have no idea. But that's why we have people watching the elections, and something should be done about it. What they do, I have no idea.
And that's one thing I'm trying, I'm saying, referring to as time that we are pulling off the boxing gloves, is that I know that you can't have up campaign signs with X amount of feet around a polling place.
Right.
But maybe we could be able to come up with a sign for the state of Colorado out there picketing or whatever, saying, hey, illegal immigrants, Colorado law, whatever, state that if you are caught attempting to vote, you will go to jail, deported, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the boxing gloves.
Right.
So we pull those things off, and then we punch back with what they're wanting to do is have illegal immigrants who are non-citizens vote in our country.
It would be interesting to see Colorado law. What exactly does Colorado law say about that?
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to look that up, and then
Okay.
I'll get back with you in the next several
I
days.
would appreciate that, because even here in Wyoming, our Secretary of State said only Wyoming and U.S. citizens are allowed to vote in our election. And it was actually the bureaucracy that came back and said, we don't really have any such law. So,
Right. And my main call on this is the intimidation of these people who are wanting to vote. Because the Democrats are like, hey, I'll take you down there, go in there and vote. You know what?
Yeah.
They're saying that illegals, non-citizens can vote, but we, Republicans or whoever, do not want this crap to happen. We should have the intimidations out there with signs that are true that says if you do this, you will be
it is
deported
this
or go to
law,
jail.
something like that. Well, find out what the Colorado law is. I'd love to know.
All right, I'll get back to you.
Thank
Have
you.
a
I
great day.
appreciate it. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that question before. But yeah, and that's something you do know that the Democrats have been pushing for, and I can say that with confidence because there's several cities around the United States where they're allowing illegals to vote. Although, and here's the thing, they say the people who are in this country, and they don't use the word illegally, but that's the case, can only vote in local elections. But of course, once they get a ballot, they'll just keep on voting right down the ballot, right? But yeah, that's been tried in several places around the country. So that's why I've said, look, if the people pouring across the border were going to vote Republican, I think right now the Democrats would have already finished construction of the wall.
This one's for the people who have ever felt the pain of stepping on a Lego. I know it hurts. This one's for the people who have ever felt the pain of losing $1 to a broken vending machine. It's sad. This one's for the people who's allergic to dogs. That must be rough. Get it? Rough. It's gonna be okay.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Wood. Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. So a little while ago, our Secretary of State Chuck Gray arrived in his office. And of course, you can imagine in his position how many messages are left on the entry machine, if you want to put it that. Do we even have machines anymore that do that? But anyway, so he's checking his messages, and he comes across this.
Yeah, this message is for Chuck Gray. I saw an article about you trying to do something with the election. I want you to listen to my voice.
This guy sounds creepy. He really does.
I want you to listen when I tell you that you're playing with fire. I want you to know that if you start...
Of course, I had to go ahead and hit the dump button on that last word there, Chuck, but you get the idea. I would say that the call is justified because, Chuck, since you've been in office, you've been doing nothing but trying to steal elections, right?
Well, Glenn, great to be on.
Yeah.
Isn't it just an example of where we're at in 2024? I mean, this guy, he refers in the first minute of the message to this article he read. And the article he was referring to is clearly this WyoFile story about how last week, I came on last Monday, remember, and there had been some tests of the machines that hadn't been done according to Wyoming state law. Wyoming state law is very clear that every candidate that is tested should receive a different number of votes. And that didn't happen in many instances. So I requested a retest in counties that did not properly do that. And it was just a request. And WyoFile, which is this left-wing news, quote-unquote, organization that is funded by left-wing foundation money, writes that I requested a retest on every single machine and that somehow this is some sort of conspiracy and yada, yada, yada. And that triggered this psycho to leave this message.
Right.
It's an example of where we're at in the year 2024, but I'm never going to back down. We're going to continue to stand for truth, continue to work for election integrity, continue to enforce and stand for the election code.
Right.
And the uniform application of Title 22, the election code, which lays out how an election is supposed to be done. And that's what we're going to continue to do in the Wyoming Secretary of State's office.
And that's why I said it the way that I did when I introduced you here, is because since you've been in office, and you've come across some disagreement from around the state of Wyoming in the way you've handled it, I know, but still, you want to make sure that we have election integrity in the state of Wyoming. You've been doing exactly the opposite since you've been in office of what this guy has claimed in the first place, threatened you over, but also, as you're saying, read in WyoFile.
Well, that's another example of their tactics, right? The left, the insiders, the media, and this is one of the things I said in the aftermath of this, they accuse conservatives of what they're guilty of. And this is just another example of that.
So let's take a look at, for those who have been a little bit confused by what happened with the voting machine counts. It seemed to me as if and correct me if I'm wrong, the procedures that are supposed to be used to test the voting machines were not filed, and you were asking the clerks to go back and test it again using proper procedures. Is that correct?
Well, exactly. And the election code, Title 22, is very clear that in this test, every candidate should receive a different number of votes. And in our guidance to the clerks on how to conduct a test, it was actually the number one thing we emphasized was that piece of the election code. And it was the big thing that wasn't done.
Right.
But we requested that retest. The retest is clearly allowed by state law when there are errors, issues with the test. And those were done in the counties, and that's great. That's the way we work together in Wyoming to achieve an outcome and to get something done, and to make sure that we do this test properly under Wyoming state law. And that's what happened last week. But the media had to try to use this, the radical left-wing media, and they've done this throughout my time in office because they don't want conservatives in. And when you have an effective conservative, you know, I've been since 2017. We passed the ultrasound bill, which was the first pro-life bill in 30 years. Voter ID, working on exporting our coal, cutting government. When you have somebody, and the crossover bill, stopping crossover voting where Democrats can no longer raid our Republican primaries. When you have individuals that are being effective, they're going to go after you, just like they're going after President Trump. We're never going to back down. We're going to continue to stand for truth. Our conservative principles. Was at the state fair this weekend and just really enjoyed seeing everybody there. It's just another reminder of what gets us up every morning, continuing to stand for the truth, election integrity, and doing our job for the people of Wyoming, the job we were elected to do.
So after the second test of these machines, Ken, as Secretary of State, can you say you have confidence in these machines since tomorrow's primary day?
I really want to encourage individuals to vote tomorrow. I'm confident we're going to have a clean election. I feel good about where we're at. And do I want post-election audits, hand audits in the future? Absolutely. But I'm confident about where we're at. We're going to continue to work with the legislature to have audits, hand audits, things that, frankly, we need to get into our statute books that we weren't able to get through when we proposed them in the 23 and 24 legislative sessions. But yes, I feel really good about where we're at. Those retests got done, and I want to encourage Wyomingites to exercise their right to vote tomorrow in this Republican primary. Voting is so central to our republic, Glenn.
Okay.
And I feel great about where we're at. I'm confident. And we're going to have a great primary tomorrow.
All right.
We're set to go.
Wyoming Secretary of State Chuck Gray, thanks for calling in this morning.
Thanks, Glenn.
Absolutely. 7:29 is the time. Coming up on some local news we have to take care of. Going to roll into weather forecast. You and I have a couple of things we're going to clean up. And then Don Day with his extended weather forecast, which has a bit of a pre-fall cool down, which I think is really just the Canadians testing their weather machine. But we'll talk to Don about it. Wake up, Wyoming.
It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio. Join the show at 888-97-WOODS.
7:36 the time. Wake up, Wyoming. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I do have a political candidate local that'll be coming in the 8 o'clock hour, 8:06 for a few minutes to introduce herself. Primary day is this Tuesday. If you don't know who you're going to vote for, there is a voter's guide up on the Wake Up Wyoming site, but also I just advise you to go wherever you vote and pick up a sample ballot. You should be able to get one there. You can do a little bit of homework ahead of time. So real quick, separate story. BLM wins 2 lawsuits clearing way for elimination of 2 Wyoming wild horse herds from Oil City News. That's a lot of horses. Lamented Cheyenne resident Robin Smith from the High Desert Ridgeline. It wasn't her first exacerbated explanation. Well, she yelled, "Oh, crap," things like that after this happened. The federal judge has given the Bureau of Land Management okay to proceed with plans to fully remove 2 wild horse herds from the landscape in Wyoming. That's southwestern Wyoming. So retired architect donning a Return to Freedom ball cap, the story says, that featured a bucking Mustang. Smith proudly described herself as a wild horse advocate on the morning that they were talking about this. She says they're an icon of the West. So, okay, let's see what happens with them. The animals were members of what the BLM considered the White Mountain herd. It's, they say, vastly overpopulated. It's going by what the federal agency considers an appropriate number for the landscape. By the end of the day, 144 animals, 52 stallions, 63 mares, 29 foals have been removed, which meant the crews were almost exactly a quarter of the way to their goal of 586 Mustangs over the range over the next couple of weeks. So the White Mountain herd horses, well known enough that they're being allowed to continue out there. BLM is, well, they advertise a scenic drive you can take to go take a look at them throughout the heart of the herd. In fact, there's even tour groups that you can go out with. In case you didn't know this, there are tour guides that will take you out to see the wild herds, all in the Red Desert area. So wild horses, according to the BLM, compete with sheep, cattle, native wildlife for foliage and other resources. That fact is problematic, they say, in the eyes of some, and a prime driver of the horses' policy in this checkerboard area of private and public land. So this is what the BLM is saying, that they're trying to mitigate. I don't know what happens to the horses once they take them out of the area. So a year ago, an association sued asking the court to compel federal land managers to remove free-range Mustangs from unfenced land after the BLM finalized an environmental impact statement calling for trimming of 2 herds and eliminating of 2 others. So of 11 wild horse advocates, they all came together challenging the decision. So the U.S. District Court in Wyoming, a Biden administration appointee judge, ruled the BLM's in favor here with the lawsuits on Wednesday. Quote, the court agrees that wild horses are improperly maintained on these private lands. The federal judge wrote in the decision, however, this maintenance, although improper, does not necessarily require an immediate remedy. So here's a quote. Unfortunately, or ultimately, the courts find that each fails either in resource management for the BLM. So this is what I want to know after this. So where exactly do the horses go after this? Roundups are continuing out there. Okay. There's a lot of advocates for the horses out there who are trying, well, they want to find some way to stop the roundups. I do know that some of them are put out for sale, and they can go to ranches. I do know that there's some other states out there who are taking some wild horses. A while back, I did a story. Some go up for auction. A while back, I did a story about some horses in New York City that are on patrol with police officers. So these are mounted police officers in New York City. And they're riding Mustangs that were once wild Mustangs from Wyoming. So they go to all sorts of different places. I'm personally not so much in, I don't have a problem with the idea of rounding up Mustangs. We have too many out there. Let's go bring them to other places. They could do something else with them. I just don't want to know where that is because I don't have a whole lot of detail on it. All right, weather is actually going to be really nice over the next few days. Dawn Day is back, and it's going to give us a whole breakdown on that. Coming up on 742, it's Wake Up.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day with day weather. So, okay, nice weekend, a little bit on the breezy side, and then we get into, I know you're going to tell us some slightly cooler temperatures. I just have this idea that Canada, once again, is running tests on their machines.
Yes, they're firing up making sure running tests that they can supply us with fall. That's what they're doing.
Okay, and they're getting ready to do it nicely because my understanding is we got a couple of slightly warm ones today, but then things get, I will call it, really pleasant.
Yeah, we're going to be warm for most of the week. So, through this week ahead, 80s, 90s, I would say very much what you'd expect middle of August. But starting Saturday, the western half of the state is really going to cool off. Then most of the state, Sunday into Monday, will feel those temperatures that you're mentioning there. We'll see many areas by a week from today, only in the 70s.
Okay. Now, it doesn't mean for those people who are wondering about rain out there that we'll have none. There is, let's call it some.
Yeah, thunderstorm chances are up today, down tomorrow. Then they kind of creep back up again Wednesday through Friday. Basically, what's going to happen is over the next 5 days, occasionally plumes of subtropical moisture will cover the state. Some days the thunderstorm chances will be better than others. Today's one of those days where the chances are good. They go down tomorrow. Then they kind of creep up again, and they're going to be scattered. So not every one of you will get rained on, but they're going to be out there this week.
Okay. So when I take a look at this whole season here, I know we've had a few peak days here and there where things got really hot. Overall, is it just me? It seems like we just got away with a really mild summer overall.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a look here in a couple of weeks at the end of August and see where we end up. But what we've seen here in the month of August, temperatures have been at average or a little below in some areas. Now, June and July were a little warmer than average, but this is not going to go down as certainly one of the hotter summers. It's going to go down as pretty vanilla.
You know, we're actually sitting here talking about fall now, which I'm having a hard time with.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. No, I'm still having a hard time with, I step outside and I think, I know we're not coming up on fall like right now, but we're getting close to it. It's going to be here before you know it. At some point, I'm going to start looking outside and noticing those leaves are starting to change. And then we end up talking about football, right, Dave?
Sure. Whatever you were saying. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever I was saying before is just fine. I'm just noticing that fall is slowly creeping up on us, and next you know we're talking football. In fact, isn't the first game for the Cowboys just like on the 7th or something like that?
That's the first home game is the 6th. Their first game is in 12 days on the 31st.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the NFL preseason has one more week left. College football teams will be starting, gosh, I want to say as early as the 29th in 10 days. And so, and then I'm going to talk about this coming up, but pretty much all the practices for fall sports at high school are now underway.
And not only that, I'm starting to hear people talk about back-to-school specials, things like that. So,
oh, gosh, that stuff starts like right after the 4th of July anymore.
Yeah, it kind of does, yeah. Look, where I'm at here, they already, a few weeks ago, opened up the Halloween store in the mall.
Oh, God.
And this is just, don't do that in July.
Can we wait till like after Labor Day for that?
Please, at least after Labor Day, something like that.
But you know what will happen after Labor Day?
Yeah.
They'll start to put up Christmas stuff.
See, now I'm not in favor of very many laws, being more of the libertarian guy. Okay, but as far as I'm concerned, you're not allowed to put up Halloween stuff in the stores until the 1st of October.
Oh, okay.
Because Halloween is on the 31st. So you have a month to sell Halloween. Then, as soon as Halloween is over, it's okay. What, Thanksgiving, you think stuff?
There you go.
Okay. I mean, Halloween is over. It's now the 1st of the next month. So then we can go ahead and put up Thanksgiving. Now, the Christmas stuff, I don't think that they should be allowed to put up until we're done with Thanksgiving. And I know there's Black Friday sales and stuff like that. But for the love of Pete, wait until we're done eating our Thanksgiving dinner and had a chance to nap off all of the food we just ate. Then when I go to the store the next day, it can be all decorated for Christmas. But we're going to see Christmas stuff even before Halloween, before October.
I'm telling you, past Labor Day, you will start to see Christmas stuff. And you know what? All the industry ballyhoos are cringing at what you're talking about because of the billions and billions of dollars that the Christmas time generates in this country every year.
I'll tell you this right now. If I walk into a store way too early and I start hearing Christmas music, okay, heads are going to roll.
I think you got to wait till October for that at least. All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Let's talk a little high school sports because everything is underway today, ladies and gentlemen. Last week at this time, I was talking about 4A football, the biggest class in the state, which is just 10 schools, and then golf and tennis going. But everything else gets going today. 3A football, 2A football, 9-man, 6-man, all have their practice starting today. Then you've got volleyball, cross country, and girls swimming and diving added in. So all the fall sports are now full go at the high school level in practice mode right now. The only things that have gotten underway with competition are golf and tennis, and most of the tennis teams will debut at some point this week. That does include a couple big duels today in Laramie, the two Casper schools. Kelly Walsh and Natrona visit Laramie. Natrona also has a duel at Rollins before they take on Laramie today. But high school tennis really hits full throttle. And then volleyball, cross country, girls swimming and diving, and football cannot make their debut until the end of next week, starting on the 29th, 30th, and 31st of this month. I did mention golf is underway at that Green River Fall Golf Invite last week, which was Thursday and Friday. The Shine East boys and Evanston girls took the team title. Shine East ended up with a two-day total of 607, won by 26 shots over Evanston. Laramie took third in the boys division with a 643. On the girls' side, Evanston was first, 10 shots better than Jackson. Then Star Valley Cheyenne Central was fourth. And individually, Riker Lind of Evanston won the tournament with a 136. Daniel Meyer of Shine East was second. Nash Coleman of Shine East was fourth. And Carson Moniz of Laramie finished in sixth. For the girls, Taslin Wagner from Kemmer won it with a 151 total. She won by 10 shots. Top finisher from the listing area, Jamie Palmer of Shine East, ended up in 8th place. More golf action coming up here during week 2 of the season, as well as I mentioned the tennis. But again, practice for volleyball, cross country, girls swimming and diving all began today. And the other 4 classes of football, 3A, 2A, 9-man, and 6-man, all underway. Also, with the first week of the fall season out of the way, we've got our first Athlete of the Week honors that are being considered. You can vote for some of those Athlete of the Week honors and help us make our decision. We've got 5 female and 5 male finalists this week. And we'll have the announcement of the winners coming up sometime tomorrow. In the meantime, on the regional scene, the Denver Broncos won their second preseason game as they ended up beating the Green Bay Packers 27-2 last night. The rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, looked very, very good. Led the Broncos on 2 more scoring drives, 8 of 9 passing for 80 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a 140.7 passer rating. Broncos now 1-1. They'll wrap up the preseason at home against the Arizona Cardinals next Sunday afternoon. And the Rockies did beat the San Diego Padres 2 out of 3 games over the weekend. They won 7-3 on Friday and 3-2 yesterday. The only game they dropped was Saturday's 8-3 game, which ironically was the day they celebrated Todd Helton, the former Rocky great, going into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He had a nice emotional speech before that game. Rockies are 46-79 today. They are off before they start a road trip out to the East Coast. The first stop will be in Washington, D.C. They'll play the Nationals for 3 games, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And that is your sports this hour.
Justin just sent us a text. Hobby Lobby already has their Christmas stuff out. So
I was hoping maybe not till after Labor Day, but yeah,
okay.
I know.
So what I want to know is, when do we start to see this stuff in the dollar stores and
probably
in Walmart?
very soon.
Very soon, anyway.
Yeah. I say Walmart waits till just after Labor Day because they got to clear out like their summer outdoor stuff.
That's true. Yeah, that stuff goes on special, I guess, or something to get rid of it for next year. So, all right. Thank you, Dave. Do it again next hour. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Then we get into, there's a couple of local candidates. One comes on at 8:06, and we have other regular business to take care of. So, a lot to talk about, very short period of time. Coming up on news, national, local news, update on your weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday, so we'll get to the open phones in just a bit. Right now, that we're back off to some candidates, because Tuesday is primary election time in Wyoming, also known as election time, pretty much in Wyoming. Rose Saban is in the studio with me, and you are living in where in Wyoming?
Casper, Wyoming.
Okay, and you're running for what office?
County Commissioner.
County Commissioner. So, County Commissioner for the entire Natrona County area. Are you in? Do they district that out for those?
No.
No, they don't. So that's for the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Okay. How many county commissioners, for those who don't know?
There's 5 county commissioners.
Okay.
There's 8 running. There's 2 seats open this year.
Okay. So you decided to run, why?
Well, I've been involved for a couple of years. Pretty much I live at the county commission meetings. Been down to the state legislative meetings testifying against property taxes. And it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. People need a voice, so I figured I better get into the... Can't fight from the outside.
Okay. And for those who may recognize the name, Rose is someone who calls into the program on a regular basis anyway. After you went there and beat some heads at the county commission meeting, you call the program.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So to get involved in this, what was the timeline for it? Did you just suddenly decide I got to do this, or has this been building for a while?
It's been building. I kind of held off till the end to see what we were going to have for other candidates because I would happily support somebody else if we had a good candidate. And we do. There's I think 3 of us that are very qualified and should be highly considered, but I still thought it was worth throwing my name in there.
Okay. So you get the job. What do you hope to accomplish?
Bring transparency and accountability to the people, and hopefully start severing some of this apathy that the people have gotten.
Okay.
Compliments of our government not listening to the people.
Which you complain about when you go there on a regular basis.
Yes.
You're not listening to us.
Yes.
Okay. So that means you become one of them. Oh, my God.
No.
Yeah, no. You don't become one of them.
I don't become one of them.
Yeah. So I think that's the difference of your campaign would be, is you're determined to not be one of them.
No. My campaign, and I posted it online, my contributions. I received one contribution from Linda Bergeron, and that was because she wanted a radio ad to... Again, the lack of transparency, that senior center, wanting to create a special district for that. They're not telling everybody the facts. So she had me run an ad over on KUYO. And so there's a $200 contribution. She really wanted that out there and to do it as a campaign thing as well. So that's what you'll see. The rest of it was financed by myself.
Okay.
I'm paying for it by me, it's me, and I can't be bought by anybody else.
And for those people in the Toronto County area, of course, you'll want to handle things like gravel pit?
Yes.
Okay. And what would you do to handle that? Because I know that's something it's almost completely gone through, but they're not quite done yet. So what would you have to do? And I assume you want to arrest that.
It depends upon the duration of this, how long how long it goes out. Judy and I have been talking since December 20th, 2022, that zoning resolution rewrite. Yeah. And that's what made that possible at the county level. Prior to that, mining was prohibited on Casper Mountain. And now it's allowable through a conditional use permit by them changing the zoning in that area to Mountain Residential 1, Mountain Residential 2. So again, I think that zoning resolution rewrite is a hot topic to get rewritten, which I volunteered to try to help with and solicit the people for, feedback and do that once upon a time. And the Three Little Amigos, there was a bunch of resistance on that. So, and then the other thing that needs to be worked on is that 10-year contract for the hospital. That needs to be dissolved so that they can sell and get a different provider in here besides Banner.
And so this goes back to the transparency, because some of the phone calls you've given this program over the past few years, it seems like you think a lot of these things are being done behind closed doors without
absolutely.
the public knowing.
Absolutely. I feel like it's this fight between the government and the people, and it's supposed to be a government of the people, and it's like in any way that they can pull the wool over our eyes and sneak something through the back door, and that's not what and part of that is the people for not electing better representation. And when you have the opportunity to vote them out for doing that, like the gentleman who sold the hospital, get rid of them. Some of them are running again. Get them. Don't allow them back in so that they can do more shady backdoor deals.
Okay, that means you're gonna have to sit in a lot of long, boring meetings. Yeah, I know you're looking forward to that. But what got you involved and made you so politically active? I mean, you've been at this for a while.
It was the property taxes, and not because my own went up. It was looking around, listening to the neighbors, and seeing the writing on the wall. And I knew that things can't keep going the way they're going.
Okay.
Because that's going to force seniors out of their home. I know I've been getting a lot of kickback at the senior center is saying that I'm against seniors, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I want to see seniors remain in their home. They bought their place. That was an investment and a place for them to retire and live their life, and to put them into assisted living, government assisted living, that's going to cost us a lot of money if that's the route that they want to take. So I'd just as soon have them remain in their homes and be a profitable tax base.
Okay. And let's talk taxes for a moment, because I know property taxes are still a big issue. Now, there's only so much you can do on the county end. So
Yes.
what's your plan there?
To carry the word when I go to legislative meetings, to say that, if I'm elected, that the people put me in this office, and this is what I'm here for, to voice their word and their concerns, and y'all need to do your job.
Right.
And the 4 bills that were passed, we could talk about those individually, but there's only one that was worth a diddle, and that was the increase for the veterans. All the rest of them, they're flawed. And so I know that, gentleman who's running to be my senator, Rob Hendry, him and I have had disagreements on that. I don't think we should wait and see and tweak those bills. They're not.
Yeah.
All they were was a pacification because of an election coming up. They're flawed. We already know that they're flawed, and we know why and what's going to happen. The senior, the 65-25, I'm willing to bet that that's going to be deemed unconstitutional.
Right.
Because of the way our Constitution
So
reads.
what route would you prefer to take?
I would prefer us go to acquisition-based and do a rollback to 2019 or so, before the pandemic, before the inflation and everything caught up with us. Or I liked that House Bill 203, which exchanged property taxes for a sales tax. And Bill Alamand has got some ideas on that, wanting to even nibble away at that so that it goes back to, when we get our spending in check, that it goes back to 4 or 5% like we are currently.
And real quick, let's talk schools, because I know, of course, through the county, a lot of school issues come through.
Yeah. 73% of your property taxes are funding schools, and I don't know how many times I've told the people it's the schools. It's big, extravagant buildings that taxpayers are paying to heat and cool, and it's administrative costs. So there's room for them to let up and watch their spending.
So, in other words, make them less top-heavy and smaller, more affordable buildings.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, again, you've been at this for a while. You call in on the program from time to time. How do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about?
I'm on Facebook, Rosemaring Saban, ROZMARING and if they want to give me a call, 307-277-6859.
Okay. So they got today and tomorrow, basically, to make up their mind.
I'll be at a county commissioner meeting tomorrow.
Yeah. So spell that last name again, because it's a little different now. It's Romanian.
It's Hungarian.
Hungarian. I thought it was, okay, Hungarian.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's spelled?
CZABAN.
Okay. Find her on Facebook. Find out more information. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Glenn.
Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. And yeah, I've had some candidates on. I got a couple more to go. One more today, for sure, as we get into what is primary election time here in the state of Wyoming. And I'll give you a lot of the results as we get into tomorrow, because in most of Wyoming, all of the county is done shortly after the polls close. So I'll get you the results as fast as I can. Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite song.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. They're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns, I like guns, I like guns.
Okay, I think you're really going to like this one. New anti-gun research claims that deer hunting causes more gun violence. And this, I'm going to guess here before we get into the story, in part because I see a lot of hunters out there. They like using an AK-47 or that kind of a style of rifle. To which the people who are opposed to guns take a look at that kind of, you wouldn't do that, be nothing left of the deer, because they don't understand how that gun works. So, the story here, the author says, you guys on the left totally don't want to outlaw hunting. It would never contribute to anything, but okay, let's take a look at a chance to disarm America again. The researchers sought to investigate the association between the start of deer hunting season and shootings in rural counties in the U.S. They compared shootings during the first 3 weeks of deer season to the week prior to the season opener. The authors claim that there was a substantial increase in shootings of human beings during the start of deer season, which they say calls for additional gun control, of course. Now, correlation does not mean causation. You've heard that saying before. Just because those two things happen around the same time, if they do at all, which I doubt, doesn't mean that one causes the other. Now, I know you don't need an example of this, but let's go ahead and give you one anyway. Some years ago, on Jersey Shore in New Jersey, some years ago, there was a study because there were shark attacks happening. And someone came up with the idea that, when people eat more ice cream, there's more shark attacks. Therefore, they actually did this. You can look this up. They banned the sale of ice cream at the beach because eating more ice cream meant more shark attacks. Something about the ice cream was attracting sharks. Well, one didn't lead to the other. It turned out after further review and study, what was going on was, you see, when it's really hot out, people go to the beach to splash around in the water to get cool. This is in the days before air conditioning, by the way. And because it's really hot out and people want to splash around in the water, they're attracting sharks. That's an opportunity to sell ice cream because ice cream vendors look at all these people on the beach and it's hot out and they think, what a perfect day to sell ice cream. We'll make a killing. And so they go out to the beach and set up ice cream stands. So you see what happened. Well, we sell more ice cream, there's more shark attacks. No, there's more people splashing in the water, so there's more shark attacks because it's hot out. There's nothing to do with the ice cream. So these guys are actually trying to say, as soon as deer hunting season starts, gun violence at home starts. So obviously the two are related. Well, first off, I'm not buying that study. I'd like that to be reviewed several times over, if you would, because I'm not buying that. But let's say for the sake of argument that that's true. Does one necessarily mean the other? That's their excuse now to get rid of guns. Especially because, and this again, I've turned to many people who are anti-gun, and I talk about the AK-47 or other rifles that are of that style, and how they are some of the favorite hunting rifles of people who like to go after, especially smaller game. And again, what I hear is, well, that doesn't make any sense. There'd be nothing left of the ammo, because again, they don't understand that gun. So the authors of that study say, our study relies on shooting data from a single source, the GVA. Data from the GVA has been shown to have a bias towards incidents that receive more media attention and do not include comprehensive counts of firearm suicide. Oh, so they admit in their own column. Okay, so let's take a look at the study. Question. What is the association between the start of deer hunting season and shooting in rural areas? Findings. The study examined with 854 rural U.S. counties timing the start of hunting season. The first week of hunting season was associated with a significant increase of related shootings, citizens and so on. So, okay. Oh, let me see. Lee is out there in KC. Lee says, this study sounds like it was done by deer. Yes, I agree with you. It's a lot like when you see the commercial for Chick-fil-A, the cows with their eat more chicken. That's basically what you're saying, right? Judy's in Casper. Hello, Judy.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to back Rose up on a couple of things. The fair and rodeo, they did. Pat Sweeney had his sign hanging inside the rodeo on the walls for where the horses do their thing. And on the brochure for the Wyoming Central Fair and Rodeo, Tom Walters has his ad in there. So when they tossed Rose out, they violated her rights. And she did file with the Secretary of State a complaint about it because that's not right. I mean, they didn't want her there. There's actual photographs on Rose's page of Sweeney sign hanging on the wall of the rodeo. And then Tom Jones is running for office for my district. We don't want that man anywhere near our district to begin with. Secondly, when she was confronted at the Central Fair and Rodeo by Tom Jones, he said campaigning is not allowed, and she had to leave. Now, what kind of crap is that? It's okay for him and his buddies to use the rodeo as a campaign stand, but nobody else can go there and talk to anyone else? I hope Chuck Gray rips these guys apart. And we don't need Sweeney, we don't need Tom Walters, and we certainly don't need Tom Jones.
Except, of course, in Las Vegas, singing It's Not Unusual. Other than that, we don't need them.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know what? And Rose is a good woman. You know, she gets a little tough sometimes, but nothing she said was wrong.
Right.
And I know because I got with her when I first met her, and we worked on all this stuff together where even Rocky Mountain Power had lied about contacting all 23 counties about rate increases and property taxes, right? Well, the property tax people, they never contacted 99% of those counties. We have a dirty rhino system in this state, and that's what we're trying to avoid by getting people in like Jeanette Ward, Dave North, Rose, Tony Locke, Bob Ide, Jamie Lean, Charlie Scott, Harriet Hegman, Bryce Reese, and Jeanette Ward. These are our heroes. We need to protect them.
All right.
And boot these rhinos to the side.
Thank you, Judy. Coming up on News Time and weather forecast. Hello, RH. He's in Wiggins, Colorado. Lee's up there in KC. It's Wake Up, Wyoming.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
Time is 8:36 at Wake Up Wyoming. Another segment of Open Phones. I will have a guest at 9:06, somebody else running for a political office in the state of Wyoming wants a chance to talk for a couple of minutes. Since tomorrow is primary day, they got to get their words in as they can. Until then, though, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Now, real quick, I've been watching, and I'm thinking strategy here. On ridiculously large television they have in my studio here, a lot of information coming up about the Democrat convention. Fine. And all these different activists and members of the Democrat Party talking about what they want to talk about, issues that matter to them. And there's so many issues. Now, I remember going back to a very successful campaign some time ago when Ronald Reagan ran for office, and he made it simple. He ran on 3 basic issues and made sure the convention stuck to that. This is what we're about. We're going to talk about these things. And they were big things, but they talked about just 3 things. And that's what they ran on. And that kept people focused. Because if you're all over the place on all sorts of different issues, there's absolutely no focus. And it gets very difficult to win an election when you got so many different... Because each item comes with a different point of view. So if I were to manage the Trump campaign right about now, I would say, look, here's what you do. Trump, you got to quit the name calling. Okay, look like the adult in the room and look like the smart person in the room, and you'll do great against Kamala. You'll just do outstanding against her. And do things like we're going to limit the size of government. Government is too big. Government is too out of control. And because we have big, out-of-control government, not only does it interfere in your lives and make inflation too much and et cetera, it's tearing down the American economy. And we have to reduce the size of government to allow people to do business in America as well. You should be running your own lives. Things like that. was a very simple message that would resonate with the American people. Because right now, what I'm seeing, we'll see what the Democrat convention does, but they are so all over the place on so many different topics. It's difficult to run a campaign when there's not, let's say, a more focused campaign on a few issues. Greg in Laramie. Hello, Greg.
How you doing, Glenn?
All right, good.
I'm in Laramie and not in Chicago, so I just want to let you know that.
Just good. They boarded up Chicago. There are business owners that are afraid of those protesters. There's a lot of plywood, like a hurricane's coming.
Well, I don't think it'll be 68, but I don't think it'll be free from controversy.
Yeah, okay.
So that's
All
the way it's going to be. I just want to say that I listened to the voicemail.
Yeah.
And while his dad probably financed it, I wanted to ask it, and you didn't seem to ask, so I would like to find out whether Chuck's having DCI look into this threat.
I don't know.
And
For those
to
who
find
don't
out
know,
whether-
Greg is talking about our Wyoming Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, who got a threatening voicemail. And no, I don't know. I'll ask Chuck if anyone's looking into it or not. I do know that I had heard or read in one of the news sources that they would investigate, but I don't know where that's going.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't sound like his dad, but it did the logic did sound like somebody I know, that is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've even talked to him before, but we'll see. I did want to know if it was investigated, and because even though Chuck says it's projection, I would say sounds like he probably had somebody dial it up himself. So
okay.
That's and I also want to say, just as a side thing, is that offer my condolences as Phil Donahue died, another person that was very instrumental in the talk show thing that has overwhelmed America.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he really did something incredibly different. His show was groundbreaking in so many ways. Tell you, Greg, that just between you and me, Greg, nobody else listening, right? The guy who got me into radio, though, was Larry King. Because when I was a kid...
He's another good one, but I'm a Dayton guy, so Phil was a local product, you know?
Yeah. Well, back
So
when
it was
I was a
easier for
kid,
me.
I would lay in bed at night if I couldn't sleep, and there'd be a radio by my bed. And I was on the west coast of Florida. Larry King was only at the time on WIOD on the east coast. And at night, that radio signal would cover coast to coast. So I could tune in and listen to Larry King. And then they took him national. And he was one of the first talk show hosts out there, but definitely among the probably the first national talk show host. Because what would happen, Greg, back in those days, this was before computers. So in order to have someone play the local commercials, they would have to have somebody there. And a lot of small stations couldn't afford that. So what they would do is they would plug in Larry King, where if you didn't have any local commercials, that's okay, let the program run. And they would run Larry King all night long to save money.
Well, now that you have commercials that are automated, sometimes when I'm listening to the app, you don't quit right in that time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm listening
There's the
to a
problem.
commercial.
This is when we do need somebody there.
Exactly.
All right. I got to go to Rick and Cheyenne real quick. Thanks, Greg. Hello, Rick.
Hey, so here's the fallacy in that gun study. They equate gun accidents as gun violence.
Yeah.
During hunting season, there's a lot of idiots. I mean, people with guns and alcohol that have no business with guns and alcohol. And so somebody gets shot. It wasn't violent. It was just pure stupidity.
Yeah. So in other words, you're saying because somebody pulled the somebody pulled the gun out and alcohol was involved, stupidity happened.
Correct.
Okay. Now, for those people who would say, well, that shows we have to get rid of the guns again. Okay, once again, you're looking at the wrong thing. Because we can say the same thing with alcohol and power tools.
Right. Screwdriver.
Yeah, sure. Pick something. You know, I mean, alcohol and whatever, and stupidity ensues and somebody gets hurt. So, once again, this study is just absolute garbage. All right.
It is. Absolute garbage.
Thank you, Rick. So, what Rick's talking about, if you came in late, there was a study that I was looking at where it showed, according to these people who are admittedly very anti-gun, when deer season opens, there are more cases of shootings at home. Therefore, we have to get rid of these guns. And again, correlation is not causation. Okay, one does not mean the other. And I think it's very possible, because part of the study does show that a lot of these shootings are accidental shootings. But even then, I'd like to see, is there necessarily, because I don't trust the numbers, or is there necessarily a rise in the number of shootings around town and around home at the beginning of deer season, or is that bogus information too? Because in general, I don't trust the study. I'd like a little more information on that. But yeah, it's just the latest attempt to come up with some reason. And so the answer is we have to get rid of guns. And you hunters should be ashamed out there killing those, well, Bambi, I mean, for Pete's sakes. Anything that they can possibly come up with. I bet you we should do this. Come up with a study that shows liberalism causes. We can do that, right? Therefore, we must eliminate it. Now, we have to be careful, because that doesn't mean take people out and eliminate them. But we cannot allow people to become liberals. If you become a liberal, you are causing destruction. So we can do that. And we will call it a scientific study. In fact, I tell you what, I have a guest next hour. But then after the guest, there is a case where a California, I think it was a county or the whole state of California, they were trying to get rid of plastic bags, right? And what they ended up with was more plastic bags. You see where I'm going with this? We can do this for so many things. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
And research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to Laramie. We go to talk to David Settle. Okay, Dave, I'm going to ask your opinion on a very important issue.
All right, let's go for it.
So we're in Sweetwater County, Wyoming. We're at a restaurant. This actually happened. And a lady sitting in a booth is eating, and she has her dog sitting next to her. Sweet-looking dog, by the way. Now, some people in the restaurant were like, oh, come on, don't bring your there's food here. Don't bring your dog in. Other people will ask the question, was that an emotional support animal or not? Now, I don't know about the sanitary end of this. My thought is, as long as the dog is not on the booth or on the table, keep under, and behaving itself, I don't have a problem with it. What do you think?
I'd be curious. My first question actually would be, is it a service type animal?
Yes. Okay.
And to be very specific with that, there are folks around the country, not just here in Wyoming, but across the country, where they train those dogs.
Yes.
And so that dog or animal, whatever it was, it could be in training or something like that.
So the reason I say this, though, is as long as the dog is well behaved and under the table, I'm okay with it. Because, if you think that dog is unsanitary and loud and obnoxious, what about your kids?
Been down that road before.
Yeah, I have seen in many cases, I'm thinking, dear God, I would rather have the dog sitting in the booth than the kid.
So I will, my dog probably nowadays might be able to handle that, but back when he was younger, no way. I would never take my dog anywhere like that.
Thing needed to mature a little bit.
Now my kids can act appropriate, but back in the day, there were a few times where mom and dad got a little embarrassed. I know what you're talking about. All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Let's talk a little Wyoming Cowboy football. Pokes just 12 days away from the start of the 2024 college football season. Wyoming on August 31st opens up at Arizona State. It is an 8:30 p.m. kickoff. The home opener is not till September 7th, but the actual season first game is August 31st at Arizona State. Cowboys have been working hard going through fall camp. They've got a couple practices today and tomorrow. They'll take Wednesday off and then really start to gear up, it sounds like, for Arizona State starting on Thursday. And at least that's what head coach Jay Savelle said last week.
We'll meet with players on Arizona State. We don't practice next Wednesday. Then we'll go Thursday, Friday, Saturday on Arizona State. take Sunday off, and then we start into the following week like a game week. So we're treating it like we would off of a bye week. I think, the thing that you talk to a lot of coaches about and that you got to be careful of, number one, you don't want to under-prepare for a first game, but by the same token, you don't want it to be 3 weeks of work for a first game, because then you have a lot of things that are going to be foundational to what you have to do all season and not just particularly for one opponent.
And so the Cowboys will continue with that fundamental base, and then on Thursday get into a little bit more focus on Arizona State. Again, that's just 12 days away. Speaking of things that are just a short time away, high school football, volleyball, cross country, girls swimming and diving, all getting underway at the end of next week. So we're talking the 29th, 30th, and 31st. But a few of those sports, girls swimming and diving, volleyball, cross country, and the rest of football. 4A got underway last week, but 3A, 2A, 9-man, and 6-man divisions all starting practice today around the state. So we're now full-fledged into fall sports in high school in Wyoming. We did have a little bit of tennis on Saturday. There were some duels between the two Gillette schools in Torrington. Casper had a round-robin pro set jamboree. No official results from that. A lot of teams will make their debut this week. Kelly Walsh and Natrona County come to Laramie for duels today. Natrona's also at Rollins before they come to Laramie. In high school golf at the Green River Full Invite on Friday finished up. Chinese boys won the team competition by 26 shots with a 607 total. Evanston was second. Laramie took third with a 643. Individually, Riker Lind of Evanston was the medalist. Daniel Meyer finished second, 7 shots back. Nash Coleman was fourth from Cheyenne East. Carson Moniz of Laramie took sixth. On the girls' side, top finisher from our listening area, Jamie Palmer of Cheyenne East, ended up in eighth after firing a 2-day total of 187. More golf, more tennis going on all throughout this week, and you can actually check out our Athlete of the Week nominees right now and vote for them at wildpreps.com and on the Wild Preps app. On the regional scene, Denver Broncos won their second preseason game last night, beating the Packers 27-2. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix, 8 of 9 for 80 yards, 1 touchdown. He also almost threw a second one, but he actually was past the line of scrimmage, so they had to settle for a field goal. But that was pretty good for Bo Nix, and a lot of people think the rookie will start for the Broncos when they open their season at the Seattle Seahawks September 8th. And the Rockies won Sunday over the San Diego Padres 3-2. They are off today. That's your sports this hour.
4 golf balls in my yard this weekend. It was windy, which I think is what contributed to it, but I collected 4 golf balls from the golf course this weekend.
Yeah, no, none of that was high school ranks.
No, I think so.
Okay. Those kids were playing out of town, but yeah, that's it. When it's nice for golf season, you got to take advantage of it here in Wyoming.
Golf ball sale is about to happen at my house. Let's wake up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Okay, put all calls on hold for just a bit because we have another guest. As tomorrow is primary day, and as primary day hits us, it means it's your chance to go ahead and select who you want for whichever party you're voting for in the primary elections, which then go for the general election here in the state of Wyoming. And in many cases, that means the elections is settled depending on what district and what office that you're talking about. Now, running for U.S. Congress, which is the seat currently occupied by Harriet Hageman, on the phone with me is Steve Helling. Morning, Steve. I hope you've been well.
Well, good morning, Glenn. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So I guess if you've been running for Congress and intending to go to Washington, D.C., then you've been driving around the state, spend a lot of time talking to people.
Well, I have done some of that, and I'm also working part-time, so It has been a part-time candidacy.
All right, so let's go back and take a look at just some of your history so people know. Originally from where?
My father was in the Air Force, and we were stationed throughout the world. I was born on an Air Force base in Japan. My earliest 4 years were in the Washington, D.C. area when I lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and then I've lived in Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Colorado, and Wyoming. Wyoming for about 27 years.
Okay. And while in Wyoming, what have you done with yourself? Besides the part-time job you now have, when you were doing the full-time stuff?
Well, and my part-time job is the same as my full-time job. I'm a litigation attorney. I've spent my career fighting virtually all of my professional life. As a litigation attorney, I fought and fought and fought some more, and I've resolved hundreds and hundreds of disputes. So I am still doing that.
So what then made you decide to run for Congress for Wyoming?
Well, Glenn, I am a Christian. I am running to give voters a choice. I'm asking the voters of Wyoming to take a chance with their vote and vote for me. I think Washington is dysfunctional. In her 2 years in office, my impression is that Ms. Hageman has done nothing to improve the dysfunctionality of Washington, D.C. I also think Wyoming's representative to the U.S. House is a spokesperson for the state of Wyoming. And if someone is not a good spokesperson, then it reflects poorly on the state. So, for instance, when Ms. Hageman called Kamala Harris the bottom of the barrel intellectually and a DEI hire, I think it reflected poorly on the state, as her statements had negative racial implications. I don't think she did the state, the Republican Party, or President Trump any favors with her rant against Kamala Harris. I think most of us will agree that Ms. Harris is the most liberal presidential candidate ever, but in my opinion, we should not engage in denigrating name-calling.
If
this was not an isolated incident. I think within the last couple of weeks, Ms. Hageman has made fun of the city of Boulder, Colorado. I see no need to do this and anger the citizens of Colorado, which will make it less likely that they will want to come to Wyoming as tourists.
So if you don't like that kind of name-calling representing the state of Wyoming, then what do you think of some of the name-calling that Donald Trump does?
Well, I'm a huge supporter of Donald Trump. He's an incredible man. He's been through more than I could imagine anyone going through. Now, having said that, I do not agree with everything he says. So I'm not a name caller, but I fully support President Trump. And sometimes I think he's really trying to be funny. And he does have a good sense of humor. He's a very intelligent man, and he cares about the people, and he cares about this country.
So if we were to give you this job and we were to send you to Washington, D.C., how would you proceed? What would you like to accomplish?
Well, I would want to be a good spokesman for the state of Wyoming and promote Wyoming throughout the nation. I do have some issues that I feel very strongly about. I'm very pro-life. I think we need national legislation restricting abortions. As best as I have been able to determine, Harriet Hageman's present position on abortion is that it is an issue that should be left up to the states. Now, the rate of abortion has increased since the repeal of Roe versus Wade with the Dodge decision in 2022. More babies are being slaughtered and at a greater rate than before the repeal of Roe versus Wade. Now, trying to say she is pro-life while at the same time taking the position that abortion is an issue that should be left up to the states is like Ms. Hageman saying she is personally against abortion, but will not attempt to impose her views on her neighbors and tell them they cannot kill their unborn babies. For instance, she will not tell Colorado that it cannot kill unborn babies. And so we need national legislation restricting abortions that would restrict abortions in every state and slow down the slaughter of these innocent babies. So I would support and offer national legislation restricting abortions, but which Ms. Hageman does not presently support.
But I think you come across a problem in there because the Supreme Court said that the federal government's not allowed to do that.
I don't think so. I think the Supreme Court, by repealing Roe versus Wade, would allow something like that to happen. Now, Ronald Reagan, he's one of my heroes, and if I like to have fun with this, I guess. And Ronald Reagan, he said the 4th of July is the favorite day of Republicans, but for Democrats, it's April 15. He also said, if you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. But with regard to abortion, he said he noted that everyone that was in favor of abortion was already born. So,
right.
And Glenn, by the way, before I forget, Dwayne and Sharon Norris wanted me to say hi.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you
say hi.
for passing that along. Now, let's deal with some other topics that we would have to deal with in Congress. You, of course, will have to deal with a massive bureaucracy that has now become the fourth branch of government and is way out of control.
Okay, and I agree with that. It is way out of control. We have so many agencies really passing laws, which is Congress should be doing its job.
Yeah.
And should not delegate so much to the agency. I agree 100% on that.
National debt.
National debt is out of control, and every politician I've heard says, oh, yes, we have to cut spending, we got to do this, but then it never gets done. Now, for instance, we are spending billions and billions of dollars trying to promote renewable energies and also to promote a civil nuclear deployment. Joe Biden has announced he's pushing for the expansion of civil nuclear deployment. Has bragged that his push for nuclear is the greatest push in the past 5 decades. He wants the nuclear industry to move faster. He's put billions of dollars in incentives, and a number of people, including Bill Gates, want to get this money. Now, our portion of the country is presently nuclear-free, and our state is pristine. There are no nuclear reactors anywhere within several hundred miles of the borders of the state of Wyoming. And Ronald Reagan once said that history would record with great astonishment that those with the most to lose would be the least to prevent its happening. Now, we are selling out to our future generations. These nuclear power plants, such as the experimental plant in Kemmerer, produce radioactive nuclear waste that remains radioactive for tens of thousands and even millions of years. And we're going to burden our future generations with that because we have no storage site for this nuclear waste. And I've been going around the state arguing that Wyoming should not create nuclear waste when we have no place to store it. In fact, that shouldn't happen anywhere. We need a permanent storage site. The federal government has been promising it for decades and hasn't come through. A number of states have moratoriums that prohibit nuclear construction in their state for power plants until such time as there's a permanent storage site for the waste. It only makes sense. Radioactive isotopes are invisible, they are odorless, but they are very dangerous, and I would submit that nuclear energy is not clean energy. It's very filthy, and it causes horrible diseases.
Right.
So Germany shut down its last reactor in 2023, and the German officials said about 30,000 generations of Germans were going to have to deal with the nuclear waste they created over the past 60 or 70 years. I know that Taiwan is scheduled to shut down its last reactor in 2025, and yet Joe Biden wants to push for rapid expansion of civil nuclear, and I don't understand why we would sell out our future generations simply for money now when we have no place to store the waste.
I'm talking to Stephen Helling. Steve Helling is running for Harriet Hageman's current position as your representative in Congress. If people want to find out more about you or even get a hold of you, website address, social media, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can send me an email at fightlikehelling for Congress.
Clever.
That's 5 words all together. Fight like Helling for Congress at Outlook.com, and also a website, fightlikeHellingforCongress.com. Both would be ways to get a hold of me.
All right. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Well, Glenn, I thank you very much for having me, and God bless.
All right. God bless you. Wake up, Wyoming.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Time it's Wake Up Wyoming. So I put a rule in place a while ago, a long time ago in this program, that if somebody is talked about on this show, then they have a right to call in and respond. with that in mind, Tom Jones would like to respond to both Rose and Judy on what happened at the fair and rodeo in Natrona County. I'm glad you called, Tom. Good morning.
Glenn, thanks for letting me on and clarify a few things.
Absolutely.
I know that they said that we just gave space and ads and banners and whatever to other politicians, but that's not true. We rent or sell spaces for them. Tom Walters had bought a spot in the insert for the rodeo program, and Pat Sweeney was 2 years ago. He bought a space for the outdoor arena. We don't give those away. We don't let anybody just bring stuff in. As a matter of fact, I didn't campaign, sign, nothing during the fair. I met with the fair board and we decided it in the best interest so that there was no look of anything being underhanded. I didn't ride in the parade. I didn't have a banner anywhere. I didn't campaign anything, and it's something we don't allow on our grounds. It's been a rule since 1979, and when it was adopted officially by the state, and it doesn't matter if it's a garage sale or what. We don't allow any banners or handing out anything during the fair and rodeo or other events that are going on. Okay. So I just wanted to clarify those things. No, we didn't just support other people. We didn't just hand stuff out, and we do enforce our rules. If we catch people handing stuff out, we don't allow that to happen, and we try and keep it clean and family fun.
That sounds reasonable to me. Now, and I was curious about this when the first topic was brought up. So inside, of course, you have that venue where people can go in and see all sorts of great exhibits. What about during a political year if somebody wanted to buy a booth there? Do you allow that?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party both used to buy a booth in there during election years. They haven't in a few times, but we do have some separate ones that buy a booth, and then they can hand out all the stuff they want as long as they stay in their booth.
Oh, okay. So that was my next question. So they're not allowed to rent a booth and then go out onto the grounds. They have to stand at their booth and hand out stuff.
Yes, they have to stay in their booth and stuff out. So it just keeps it cleaner, and then people aren't walking around being stopped and everybody is just trying to get something.
Yeah. So if Rose wanted to advertise her campaign during the fair, she could have either purchased or rented a booth, or she could have purchased a sign place and put up a sign.
Yes, she sure could have.
Okay. Thank you, Tom, for calling in.
You bet. And Glenn, thank you for letting me respond to that. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So that is something I decided a long time ago. And I don't care if it's someone, even if we're picking on someone that, let's say, you and I completely disagree with. If we're talking about that person's allowed to call in and respond. And I just think that's fair. And so I'm trying to be fair on that. Okay. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. I have a question on the ridiculously large television that they put in the studio with me. Already protests are beginning outside of the Democrat convention in Chicago. And many businesses in that area have already just boarded up their windows because they're afraid of violence. We'll see what happens. Right now, though, pro-Palestinian protesters are talking to the press. Now, I just have a question. And I would like, if I can get a hold of one of them, I will, but I have a question. They really don't like what the Democrats are doing in supporting Israel. President Biden, Kamala Harris, supporting Israel, and many other Democrats as well. If that's the case, will you be voting for Kamala Harris? Because they say it's genocide, and that's what she's supporting according to them. Or is that group going to vote third party? I don't expect them to vote for Trump. That's not going to happen. Do they think they might vote for, let's say, the Green Party, somebody else like that? In which case, the Democrats would lose, I mean, not a huge number of votes, but there are a number of votes that would just go somewhere else because of their stance. Or do these people end up holding their noses and voting for Kamala Harris? Anyway, because they're afraid of Trump. But in the case of being pro-Palestinian, as they call themselves, what would end up happening is either Trump or Kamala were both going to do the same thing when it comes to supporting Israel. Oftentimes when I see protesters and they talk a really good game about what they believe, but I'm just asking them to put their money where their mouth is, if you want to look at it that way. Just go ahead and back up your words with your actual actions. Morning, Bunny. Bunny's in Cheyenne. Showy starts with a aloha, howdy, Glenn. Have a great day. Same to you. All right, we're coming up on local news that we got to take care of after a local news update on the weather forecast. You and I go rolling back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. I'm fine with it. I'll just kind of roll with the whole thing. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Journey. Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app. .36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. Now, tomorrow is primary election time in the state of Wyoming. And which means you have an opportunity, still, if you haven't done this yet, you can look up online to find out who is running in your district for whatever. There's also a story I have up again, which I posted about the third time so far this political season. And it's on the Wake Up Wyoming website right now. And you can go ahead and take a look at how to find candidates by clicking on the links and reading the story that are running in your area. Not just national, not just statewide, but more locally too. Also, where do you go vote? Better yet, where do you go to register to vote? Think about where do you go to register to vote. You probably have time today, if depends on where you live, because some people live way out there. But if you have time today, go in and pick up a sample ballot. You can even do that tomorrow before you vote. You can go pick up a sample ballot. And then do a little bit of research. Find out what you can. That way, when you go in to cast your ballot during this primary, you're not guessing, which you know is the whole point of my Stay Out the Vote campaign, which I'll be in full force of Stay Out the Vote tomorrow. I don't do Get Out the Vote campaigns. I do Stay Out the Vote campaigns for those people who are not involved until the last second and have no idea what they're talking about when they go to vote. We need fewer of you out there. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be mean.
Darling, would you fetch me a beer out of the fridge?
So, I know everything about the Kardashians, Beyonce, and stuff like that. But I know nothing about who my governor is or whoever runs the state. So this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Thank you, darling. I can give you every major stat for the Rockies for the last 15 years, but I can't tell you who the mayor of Denver is. That's the reason why this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Too lazy to stay informed? Then stay home. Stay out the vote. Your country is counting on you.
Let's also forget, let's remember, that when you're looking at political ads on television, there's always a certain formula that they use during these political ads. They do this on purpose. Much like when you're watching a commercial for some product. Before you had this product, the world was in black and white, and everything was klutzy and clumsy and horrible. Then you bought this product, and all of a sudden the world is in full color, and birds are singing.
This election, your choice couldn't be more important. Our candidate is in flattering lighting and full bright color. Their candidate is in grainy high contrast black and white, spotted through a telephoto lens from behind a bush, coming back from God only knows where. Our guy points at the horizon and holds a baby. Their guy doesn't have a baby. Their guy has a golf club. The voiceover for our guy is calm, measured, bright. Their guy gets the lower register, and sometimes we slow down. Our Guy has clean headlines and the beautiful lens flare America needs. Here's a scary graph over a photo of their guy awkwardly laughing. Snap zoom. Do you want to snap zoom like that in office? Here's a photo of Our Guy saluting military veterans. Jump cuts, flashes, static, aggressive colors. You can't trust a guy with graphics like this. Our Guy gets stock footage of sunrises and an American flag. Their guy's flag is upside down and on fire. Intercut with overdue bills, war, and a crying baby. Our Guy gets doctors and astronauts and stimulus checks. Flatline, an eagle, hurricane, the Statue of Liberty. Crime scene tape, Ronald Reagan. A girl running in a wheat field to escape a dangerous sexual predator. Welding, atomic bomb. This election, the choice is yours. Their guy or our guy. Inspiring slogan.
And remember that as you go to vote for whoever your favorite political candidate is, everything they've done, for the most part, especially the big candidates, has been scripted.
Hi, I'm Gil Fulbright. The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it. This campaign, it's not about me. It's about crafting a version of me that'll appeal to you. A version that visits random work sites with paid actors pointing at things. A version of me that doesn't find old people loathsome or pointless. Has a conventionally attractive yet curiously still family. Listening to my constituents, legislating, these are things I don't do. What I do is spend about 70% of my time raising funds for re-election. I'd do anything to stay in office. My name's Gil Fulbright, but hell, I'll change my name to Phil Goldbright or Bill Fulbright or fill up my mouth with farts. These are the things that are important to me. And these are the fine people that finance my campaign. Now, in order to do these things, I have to stay in office. And to stay in office, I have to keep these guys happy. Now, if any of these things make these guys unhappy, well, my hands are tied. So come November, the choice is clear. Do you want another spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? Or a spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? I'm Philip a mouth with farts, and I approve this message.
So if you want to go vote on Tuesday in Wyoming's primary election, please do. Please make sure that you are heavily informed. You have time before you go do so. 9:42, Wake Up Wyoming.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Coming up on 9:48, off we go to Laramie, Wyoming. David Settles filling in for Frank Gambino. So, okay, I am getting a slightly different view on certain food products. Dave, so I want you to picture Cheerios, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Now, apparently, according to what I'm reading, now it's on the internet. So, as you know, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Right.
These are referred to as bagel seeds.
What?
You take a Cheerio, you plant it in the ground, and it will become a full-size bagel.
Okay, then. Good luck, people.
I'm going to try it. I don't know. It's either that or throw them in the toilet and see if you can hit them. I don't know. Just all right, the next one. I'm not sure about this one. I don't think I want to try it, but somebody had left open a Tupperware container filled with strawberries. Did you know that strawberries are Italian?
I did not.
They grew hair all over them, especially on their backs. And so it tells me that strawberries they must be Italian. There's hair everywhere on that. Now, I love strawberry. If you put a bowl of strawberries in front of me, I will just sit here noshing on them. I just love strawberries.
Yeah,
but
I do too.
When I see fuzzy strawberries, I have a little bit of a problem with that.
I usually pick through those.
Yeah,
I guess I'm
right.
picky.
Get down to you. I'm worried that if I'm picking through, then some of the fuzzy stuff touch the non-fuzzy stuff, and I'm worried about that. Okay. Now, you've heard if you're at the grocery store, you're going to buy some milk, or if it's in your own, milk is in your own refrigerator.
Right.
There's an expiration date, but they also tell you that the expiration date is before the actual date that it goes bad, just to make sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that for every milk. I've had some go really bad right after the date.
Yeah.
And so I'm always leery of that, which is why if I get close, I will finish it off no matter what, so it done before the date.
Yeah. See, I haven't had milk in a long time. I just quit drinking it. I'm mostly a water guy. Coffee in the morning, then water the rest of the day. But if I did look at milk and I looked at the expiration date and I was close to it, I would call that good enough and just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Having said that, there's a lot of other foods out there that I should be checking the expiration date, and I don't.
Yeah.
So, all right, when you're at the grocery store and you're grabbing something that has an expiration date, are you one of those that reaches to the back, or do you grab right out from the front?
Just depends upon the item.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those where I will look at the expiration date depending upon the product.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Like okay, I'll give you an example. Like I like a lot of yogurt.
I love yogurt. Oh yeah, big time.
So I like yogurt. So I will look at the packaging and be like, all right, I know I can't eat like 4 yogurts in like the next 3 days. So then I will look for the further expiration date out. So then I know that gives me a little bit of time to eat the yogurt, right?
Okay.
So that's something where I might reach to the back just to see, did they put the most far expiration date out in the back, or
yes,
and things like that.
Usually that's how they do. So in other words, you and I, when it comes to food, are kind of safe.
Yeah, kind of. All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Speaking of kind of, we're kind of underway full throttle with high school sports in Wyoming, ladies and gentlemen. That's because the other 4 classes of football, 3A, 2A, 9-man, and 6-man, as well as volleyball, cross country, and girls swimming and diving teams, all getting underway with their first practices of the 2024 fall season today around the state. Last week, golf, tennis, and 4A football teams got going, which in 4A football is just the top 10 schools enrollment-wise in the state. So everybody's full throttle now. We've already had some tennis action. We've already had some golf action. You can find all the results at wildpreps.com or on the Wild Preps app. The Green River Fall High School Golf Invite was last Thursday, Friday out at Rolling Green. And the Chinese boys won it with a 6:07 two-day total, won by 26 shots over Evanston. Laramie was third in the team standings in the boys division with a 6:43. Individually, Riker Lind of Evanston won it with a 136 total. Daniel Meyer, defending 4A champion from Shine East, was 7 shots back in second. Nash Coleman of Shine East was fourth. Carson Moniz of Laramie took sixth. On the girls' side, it was the Evanston girls winning the team title, then Jackson, Star Valley, Cheyenne Central, and Green River in the top 5. The top individual finisher from the listening area, Jamie Palmer of Shine East, she shot a 2-day total of 187 and finished in 8th place at that Green River Fall Invite. More golf going on this week. Lots and lots of tennis. Most teams making their season debut. That does include a couple of big dual matches between Laramie and the 2 Casper schools today here in Laramie. Laramie's playing Kelly Walsh starting here in a few minutes at 10 o'clock. Then they'll play Natrona County later today. Natrona actually has a stop in Rollins for a duel this morning before they come to Laramie later on this afternoon. And then there's plenty of tennis throughout the rest of the week. It's a busy first full week of the high school tennis season. The University of Wyoming Cowboy football team continues preparations 12 days away from their season opener at Arizona State on August 31st. That will be an 8:30 p.m. kickoff. Cowboys will have practices today and tomorrow, off on Wednesday. And then head coach Jay Savez said, we'll start our pregame preparation for Arizona State this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They'll have Sunday off and then get into their game week mode on Monday, August 26th. On the regional scene, the Denver Broncos won their second preseason game last night at home, beating the Green Bay Packers 27-2. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix looked very good. 8 of 9 passing for 80 yards, 1 touchdown. He threw a second, but he was beyond the line of scrimmage, so they had to settle for a field goal. But 2 more scoring drives for Nix. Broncos 1-1 in the preseason. And the Rockies won 2 of 3 from the San Diego Padres at home over the weekend, including 3-2 yesterday. They're 46-79 on the season. Still pretty bad, or really bad. And they're off today before they open a 3-game series in Washington, D.C. against the Nationals on Tuesday. That's your sports this hour.
Okay, so I know it's early to tell, but still, Wyoming versus Arizona. Who has this one?
Ooh, Arizona State, Wyoming. I like the Cowboys to go in and sneak out a stunning upset, Glenn.
Okay.
I think they will be an underdog going into that game.
Okay, because stunning upset sounds like you think Arizona's better.
Arizona State is going to be a solid football team. They're not quite as good as they have been, but I like the Cowboys sneakily in this one.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Coming up on some local business news time. Wake Up Wyoming.